It's 6 o'clock on Thursday, and that means it's time for the Cancer Coach Talks. Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to make sure that we're alive. Well, I mean, I know that I'm alive, but we're going to make sure that we're live here on Facebook, and we are. So, yay! Yay, yay, yay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. If you're watching in replay or I'm going to put my thing up down there in case comments don't come up tonight. If you're watching live on replay or if you are coming in live here, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'd love to just take a few minutes and introduce myself like I do as always. My name is Leslie Nance. I am hi, Susan. It's good to see you. Hi, Matthew. Thank you so much for being here. I am the founder of this group, The Real Answers About Your Cancer. The reason that I did this group is because I am a certified holistic nutritionist, and hi, it's good to see you. Thank you. I'm excited about this topic too. It was a great question that somebody asked earlier. I think it was yesterday actually, and I think it's the perfect time to discuss it as the question is hot topic in the group. So thought I'd just come here and give you guys the lowdown on that. So certified holistic cancer coach, certified holistic nutritionist with a focus on cancer, and a 6-year cancer survivor. If you didn't know that about me, I survived stage 1B breast cancer. And before you go, well, that's not very much. I mean, cancer is cancer, but it was a very aggressive form of cancer, and I was actually very lucky that it was caught very early in my diagnosis. So been cancer free for 6 years and super proud of that. I was told that I was going to have cancer all over my body within a year if I didn't do all their crazy treatments and all the crazy diets and all the craziness, and decided, hi, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. And decided to go it with some medical practices along with some holistic practices to make my body the most inhospitable environment to cancer that I could. So we do these talks on Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock and here on Thursday nights as well at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So just make sure that we know that it's Mountain. So that's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And if you're in Central, you have to figure it out on your own. And so, so earlier this week in the group, hi, Angela. It's good to see you. So earlier this week in the group, someone, or maybe even yesterday, someone asked, and I can't remember who asked, I'm sorry to say, and if anybody knows who that was, just can you type in their name here? Because I'd love to give them credit. They wanted to know, does sugar really feed cancer? And so there's a lot of information swirling around out there. So what I'd like to do tonight is I'd like to answer 3 questions. I'd like to explain 3 things to you. And those 3 things are the role of sugar in our body, okay? Because we are human beings. We are actually designed to digest sugar. What? I know. It's part of our makeup, and we're actually designed to use it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, is all sugar created equal? And we're going to talk about how it can be dangerous whether you have cancer or not. And so we're going to discuss all of those 3 things tonight. We have about 25 minutes to do that in. So let's dig right in. Thank you guys for being here. If you know somebody that wanted to be here, that's not here, that's in the group, maybe if you can tag them in the comments so that they can see that the live is ready to go. And if you want to go back and rewatch this, you can always watch all of my trainings, the Cancer Coach Talks. You can watch those all in the video section of the group. So there you go. So thank you guys so much for being here. Looking forward to this conversation. So let's just start right out. So let's talk about the role of sugar in our body. Sugar actually has a role to play in our body. And so when we get all like crazy town thinking, that we have to strip all types of sugar, simple carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates out of our diet to be healthy, then we get into a very slippery situation. So everyone totally and I'm going to refer to my notes because I made some really good notes and I want to make sure that I stay on track tonight. And so everyone loves to oversimplify sugar and its role in our body. And this freaks me out a little bit. As a holistic nutritionist, this freaks me out a little bit because it's just not as simple as saying that sugar feeds cancer. Okay. And hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that during this conversation. So first of all, let's just look at our anatomy and our physiology and how we are made to process sugar. So when we eat something that is sugar, whether it's and we're going to talk about the difference between a complex and a simple carbohydrate. And a little bit later, when we talk about is all sugar created equal, we're going to talk about that. So bear with me. But when we eat any type of carbohydrate, which turns into glucose in the body, that actually creates instant energy in the body. Now, depending on how quickly it digests, determines how long that energy burn is in the body. Okay, does that make sense? So glucose equals energy to every one of our cells in our body. Okay, so every cell in our body requires some glucose to function. Now, there are some organs in our body that actually will use protein and fat for energy, but our brain and our red blood cells exclusively use glucose. So you can see how overcomplicated this gets really fast, because then you're like, well, wait a second, if my brain needs glucose to function and then I strip all the sugar out of my diet, what's my brain using? Right? And so it gets to be a very slippery slope. It's just not as easy as people want it to be. I wish it was as easy as that, but it's just not that easy. Okay? So I want you to have a good understanding. So when the next time somebody says this, you're like, oh, but wait a second. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. I got something to say about that. Okay? So when we eat sugar, it's considered a carbohydrate. When we eat that carbohydrate, it breaks down and the body turns it into glucose. Now, if you've ever known anybody who is being on an IV, right? And so they're on an IV and they can't take any solid foods and no feeding tubes or anything like that, you know, and this can go on for a couple of days. What they're doing is they're transferring, typically they're going from a saline solution to a glucose solution, and they're going back and forth, all right, to feed that person, to keep the body going and doing minimal functions while that is happening. And so glucose is a great source of energy to just keep regular old things moving and grooving inside the body. Okay. And that would be at our minimal energy level. That would be at our very lowest energy level that would happen. So when we eat the glucose or we eat the carbohydrate, it turns into glucose. Then it travels to every cell in our body. Every cell in our body uses, and these are the cells, in case you're wondering, these are the cells like floating around going, oh, glucose. Oh, thank you. Oh, glucose. Thank you. Oh, some glucose. Thank you so much. Oh, glucose. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Glucose. Oh, yay, yay, yay. All right. So we make ourselves very happy when we give them glucose, because that creates energy inside of that cell. And that's a good thing. Sorry. I'm such a goofball sometimes that I make myself laugh, and I'm sorry if you're not laughing. But hi, Brittany, but I make myself laugh. So anyway, so that is converted into energy for those cells to use. And this type of energy is used for several functions in the body, but high level without getting too deep into our anatomy and our physiology. Actually what it's doing is it's helping muscle contractions. Okay. Just very simple muscle contractions. And it's also helping like control things like body temperature. Okay. So it's doing some very basic fundamental work when we're feeding our cellular level at that. And let me say this again. I'm going to say this one more time. While some of our organs use protein and fat for energy, our brain and our red blood cells rely completely on glucose. It's very important. If you've ever known anybody that's gone on a super low carb diet, right? A super low carb diet, they might have some like their brain doesn't want to, like brain fog, like you don't want to function. Like you're like, my brain's not working. What's going on? What's happening? Right? And so eventually the liver will catch up with it turning fat into usable glucose. But it's very hard on your liver to do that. And that's a whole different broadcast. But anyway, So now we know the role of sugar in the body. Let's talk about the types of sugar that are out there, and are they all created equal? So everybody's heard the term simple carbohydrate, right? Am I yelling? I feel like I'm yelling. Okay, but it's because I get excited. I get excited about these things. As a student of anatomy, I get really excited about how the body works. And the more you know about how the body works, the more exciting it is, because then you realize how much the body is designed for healing. We are so amazing. We are designed for healing. And when you learn more about it, you realize this, and it's like, it's so empowering. It's so empowering, especially when we're dealing with active cancer. And so let's talk about the different types of, see, I almost got off track. I'm coming back. Okay, so here we go. So two basic types of carbohydrates: simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. And everybody's heard these terms before. And if you're like me, for a long time, I really screwed these things up. Like, I totally screwed up what simple carbohydrates are and what complex carbohydrates. But let's talk about simple carbohydrates first. So basically anything that has table sugar in it, honey, it's not as simple as table sugar, but still going to have it, maple syrup, anything that's sugary like that. It's, again, not as bad as table sugar or white sugar, but sugar is sugar is sugar. And I'm talking about something that actually physically tastes sweet when you eat it, okay? And a lot of you are going to go, oh, does this include fruit? No, and we'll talk about why in just a second, okay? So, but we're talking about processed typed sugars primarily, and we talk about, in this instance, when we talk about, hi Jennifer, when we talk about simple carbohydrates, okay? So simple carbohydrates, so anything that uses a processed white sugar. Okay, so all of your baked goods, pastas, pasta sauces, all types of condiments, it's hiding everywhere. I mean, quite literally, they hide it freaking everywhere. Okay, so you want to read your labels and you want to know all the different words for, and we don't have time for it today, but all the different words for sugar. You can go to my website, gotokitchens.com, and in the search bar, type in sugar, and you'll see a whole thing that I wrote about and the names for sugar, and you'll learn all kinds of things there. So you can go check it out there. But these are things that, these simple carbohydrates are things that are rapidly digested through our digestive tract and converted into fast energy. Now, the problem with this is not like short term. It's not like eating a donut with a chocolate glaze or something, and then it's like, the problem with this is that it spikes your blood sugar, and then it, boom, right? We've all had this. We've all had something sugary, especially when we're not used to eating it, and it like spikes the blood sugar, and then we have a crash. It's like, dang, why'd I eat that? Anybody do that? You're like, shoot, why did I eat that? I shouldn't have ate that, right? Because it makes you feel like crap, okay? And so we've all experienced this. In fact, we're coming into the sugar season right now, which freaks me out. The sugar season starts at Halloween and it goes all the way to Easter. That's the sugar season, because there's a holiday almost every single month in that time period that we celebrate with sugar. And it freaks me out because I hate this season. I mean, I like the season because I like the holidays, but I hate the idea, right? I hate the idea. Marcy's like, me, that's happened to me. Yep, that's me. I've done that. I love it. Thank you, Marcy. So repetitive behavior of this, raising the blood sugar, crashing the blood sugar, raising the blood sugar, crashing the blood sugar, has a negative effect on our body. And this can create insulin resistance. This can lead to diabetes. This can lead to overworking of the liver and the pancreas and our colon even, and our rectum even. It can wreak all kinds of havoc in the human body. And so this can lead to obesity. This can lead to all kinds of things. And all of those things put us at a higher risk of having cancer. And not only having cancer, but if we are dealing with active cancer right now, it puts us at a higher risk of not being able to fight off cancer. It makes our body really hospitable to cancer instead of inhospitable to cancer. And so this is something that you want to keep a hold of. And one of the reasons is that up and down, that woohoo, sugar, yeah, bye bye. Dang, I feel like crap. That up and down spike that we have like that makes our pancreas and our liver go to work doubly hard for us. And that puts stress on it. And it's just like any other machine, it wears out. It wears out and it starts to cause problems in the body. If you are a type 2 diabetic, you are at a high, I'm sorry, but you are at a higher risk for cancer, specifically cancer of the liver, the pancreas, actually for women, female cancers in our ovaries and our uterus and our cervix. We actually, endometrium cancers, we actually are at a higher risk. If that is us, our colon, our rectum, it puts diabetes and that, or even insulin resistance raises your chances of getting any of those cancers. And now new studies are being done on breast cancer and the effect that it has on that. So it's something that you need to pay attention to. So not all sugars are created equal, because now we're going to talk about complex carbohydrates. And this is where I think a lot of people get it wrong. Okay. A complex carbohydrate is typically going to be something that digests much slower. So yes, it has sugar content. Yes, it has a carbohydrate in it. Yes, it turns to glucose in the body, but it takes much, much longer, right? It takes much longer to digest and it's a slow energy burn. And this is the type of thing that we are designed to consume. And a lot of times it has a lot of fiber attached to it, which is good for our colon, which is good for our rectum, which is good for our liver and our pancreas and those types of things. So what people do is they're like, all sugar feeds cancer, and they go haywire and they just decide to rip everything that is a carbohydrate, simple or complex, out of their diet, when they should just be focusing on the simple carbohydrates and leaving those super healthy, slow burning, complex carbohydrates. Okay. Now these things consist of things like whole grains, right? So many people want to strip whole grains. People are so surprised when they come to my program. It's called Any Stage Cancer Nutrition Protocol. And when they come to my program and I start designing one-to-one meal plans for them that are designed specifically for them and the things that they like to eat and to fight their particular type of cancer, they're so surprised. One, how great the food tastes, and two, how unrestrictive it is, for the most, how unrestrictive it feels compared to what everybody else has told them. And three, that they get to eat whole grains. They're like, wait, what? I get to what? I thought they were I thought they were the devil, unless they're gluten intolerant, but I thought that they were the devil. And I'm like, actually, no, whole grains are really good for you. We need them. So whole grains, starchy vegetables, green veggies, all of these are complex carbohydrates. Beans and lentils. These things are amazing for our human bodies. Our bodies love these things. Now, can you go crazy town crazy? No. Can you just eat potatoes and call it a veggie and say I eat veggies and just eat potatoes? No. You can't do that. You can't just not use your noggin. You have to pay attention to what you're eating. You need to have a nice, diverse stretch of complex carbohydrates throughout the week. And they need to be different colors, and they need to be different textures, and they need to have different nutrients. All of those things are very, very important, but you don't need to strip them out of your diet if you have cancer. And this is such a fallacy that people fall for. And they say sugar feeds cancer, and they're like, oh, well, like, you know, greens are a complex carbohydrate, and I can't eat those because that feeds my cancer, because it's going to turn to glucose. And your brain's like, I need some glucose, people. Please send some glucose now. It's got like a little sign, like your brain's holding up a sign saying, please send glucose. Your red blood cells are floating around. Anybody seen any glucose around here? We're just looking for some glucose. So that's the difference. So not all glucose, not all sugar is created equal in the body. Okay. Strict moderation, strict moderation on simple carbohydrates, right? Little less restriction on complex carbohydrates. And it also depends on the type of cancer you have. It depends on your other dietary requirements. It depends on how, if you're insulin resistant or not. I mean, there are a lot of factors that go in there. This is like a 30,000-foot view, right? This is answering a very complex question in 30 minutes. Okay. So let's go to the next part of this. And I think the next part of this was how sugar can be dangerous with or without cancer. So whether you have cancer or not, right? How sugar can be dangerous. I'm going to tell you right now, I am comfortable saying this to every single one of you right here in this room right now. All processed sugars should be cut out of your diet. There, I said it. All processed sugars, especially things like high fructose corn syrup, things that are modified, genetically modified, cane sugars, organic or not, white sugars, brown sugars, any type of sugar like that. Sugar is sugar is sugar, and it should be cut out of your diet, especially if you are fighting active cancer. Especially. I feel very confident in saying that to you. It is dangerous, and if you're eating a lot of it, it is dangerous in any circumstance, and it is certainly not helping you at all if you have active cancer. Okay? So here's the things and the reasons why we should be avoiding. And I'm going to go through each one of these, and then I'm going to end this. And hopefully this answered your questions. And you guys feel free, if you're watching replay, to keep typing questions in. I will see them even after this live is over. I still see questions. I still get notifications for everything that happens in this group, and I can see it and I can still answer your questions, or you're welcome to reach out to me in private message if you'd like as well, if you have a question. All right, so here's the dealio. Eating large amounts of processed sugar can lead to obesity. Obesity puts you at risk for all types of cancers. You name it. When you are overweight, your body is in emergency mode. And I know that there are people in the media right now that are like, oh, I'm overweight and I'm healthy. You're healthy on paper. You're healthy on paper, but your body is in an emergency mode. It is not healthy. Bottom line, you are increasing your risk. Okay, Linda's asking about what about raw unfiltered honey? In moderation, Linda, very, very little. Less. Every female on the planet and every male on the planet, every female, less than no more than a tablespoon of any type of added sugar in your diet every single day. So if you want to have some in your coffee or in your hot chocolate or whatever it is, or your tea, your green tea or something like that, that's fine, but not added anywhere else. And I'm not talking about from natural sources. I'm talking about, I'm not talking about like from fruit or from the complex carbs. I'm talking about, I'm making my tablespoon, but from from added sugars like honey and maple syrup and table sugar and organic cane sugar and all those things. Okay. So less than a tablespoon. For men, they can, because it depends on their stature, and for women too, it just depends a little bit on your stature. This is why one-on-one coaching is so helpful, because we can really dial down to what you should be doing. But for men, they can get away with a little bit more, maybe 2 tablespoons, but not with active cancer. I would still say 1 tablespoon is it for added sugar. It's not that you have to deprive yourself completely. It's just that you have to be very careful. Yeah. Blackstrap molasses and maple syrup. So that's a great question. I'm sorry. I'm going to figure out how to pronounce your name tomorrow. I can't wait to talk to you, because boy, if I try it, I'm going to slaughter it. So I'm so bad at that. So I'm gonna learn how to pronounce your name tomorrow. So, but blackstrap molasses and maple syrup. Blackstrap molasses actually has a lot of iron in it. So if we're talking about an iron deficiency, that's something different. But again, that's very specific to the specific person. But again, still sugar is sugar. It does process a little bit slower than like table sugar will, but still faster than like a complex carbohydrate will. So, and maple syrup for sure. Yeah, is more like honey. So a little bit slower than white processed sugar, but still considered a simple carbohydrate for sure. All right. Increased risk of obesity increases your risk for cancer, and it certainly does not help you when you are battling active cancer, right? Thank you for understanding. I appreciate that. Diabetes puts you at risk for cancer. Certainly something you want to have under control if you're battling active cancer, whether it's medically being controlled or you get control of it with a big diet switch. Visceral fat. Visceral fat is actually the fat that lives in the tummy that surrounds our organs. This actually is basically suffocating your organs. So just Google visceral fat. Actually, you can go to gotokitchens.com. I have a whole blog post about visceral fat and the dangers of visceral fat. So Google Go To Kitchen. I'll put it in the comments here so you guys can go read the sugar post, and I'll go grab them after the show. You can read that and about the visceral fat puts you at risk for cancer because you're basically suffocating your organs and making them work overtime trying to do what they're supposed to do. Overeating sugar can cause a poor cognitive function as well. Undereating sugar can cause poor cognitive function as well, or undereating complex carbohydrates can cause poor cognitive function as well. So you need a healthy balance there to think about that. But we're talking about processed sugar. There are actually studies coming up that hopefully in the next year or so we'll see these studies. They're very promising studies about the link between Alzheimer's and the consumption of too much sugar in our diet. Heart disease. One of the things I see mostly from people is that they come to me as they've been diagnosed with cancer and they are getting ready to go into surgery, and they're diabetic or pre-diabetic or insulin resistant. And we really have to work on that before they go into surgery, because if you're consuming too much sugar, it can actually slow the process of healing and wound care and healing from a wound, especially a surgical wound. And so you want to make sure that that is fully under control. In fact, in my opinion, I would put off surgery until I had that under control, because it can be very dangerous. It can cause all kinds of problems if you're dealing with that. And that kind of goes for being obese as well. That can slow that down. I mean, there's so many things that lead to this, leading to slow wound healing. It's actually one of the things that I work with people. Sometimes I get the pleasure of working with people before they go to surgery, and we can speed the healing process with simple processes in the diet to help them do that. So, thank you for being here, Terrence. It's good to see you. What about your addiction to 70% cacao chocolate? Cacao chocolate is actually really good for you. You just want to make sure that the sugar content is pretty low. It typically is with that type of dark chocolate. And dark chocolate is a super high antioxidant. And so, yeah, so it's one of those things that's like, yay, chocolate. God loves me because I can eat chocolate. That's how I know there's a God, because I can eat chocolate. I'm being funny, by the way. People that are women, especially. So there's a study done in the UK that are in Europe. I can't remember if it's Europe or UK. I haven't looked at the study in a long time, but there was a study that was done over 430,000 women over a long period of time. Those that consumed high amounts of sugar and processed wheat in the form of sweet buns. If you're in Europe, if you've ever been to Europe, you know what sweet buns are. That ate like things like sweet buns, so high processed flour, processed sugar. They actually had a 3 times more chance of getting endometrial cancers. What? That's crazy town right there. That's crazy town. Anyway, okay, that always shocks me when I think about it. Inflammation, which chronic inflammation in the body. Eating too much sugar can cause chronic inflammation in the body, which is going to slow all the processes that I just talked about: healing, fighting cancer, keeping that cancer healing machine on. All of that is going to become much harder with the chronic inflammation that happens in the body. So yeah, absolutely. Right. I know. So am I, hands down, totally addicted. I eat dark chocolate every single day, Poor immune function. Our immune system is so critical when we are battling active cancer. Or even post-cancer, our immune function is so important. And I'm talking about your immune function that runs deep inside of your body. I'm not talking about you have seasonal allergies or things like that. I'm talking about the things that affect what happens in our organs and what what destroys cancer cells when they do pop up in our body. Because, 9 times out of 10, we have cancer in our body, every single one of us right now, whether we're, pronounced cancer free or not. However, our body's immune system, if it's nice and strong, it will actually recognize that problem, that emergency, and go, hey, you don't belong here. And they're called natural killer cells. And I just imagine them having like little machine guns, and they're like, bah, 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 bah. See a cancer. And then our lymphatic system takes up the garbage and then processes it out of the body. So if we have a good functioning immune system, we're able to battle that much better. If we eat too much sugar, our immune system goes. I think somebody said something. I think Jennifer said something about the flu. Right? Flu season and sugar season, right? So the flu season, there's no coincidence that the sugar season and the flu season kind of coincide, right? I mean, there is no coincidence there. And so just think about that. Just think about that for a second. I'm gonna leave that right there. Depression is something that high sugar intake can contribute to, along with white flour can contribute that to. Cellular aging, your cells actually age faster when you are consuming too much sugar. What? Hold on. Wait, what? Yeah, I know. You can drain your energy. You have dental health problems. It can bring on gout. I mean, this is a huge list of things, and I could keep going, but I'm completely out of time, so I'm not. So the bottom line is not all sugars are created equal. The second part of that, answering the question, does sugar really feed cancer? And the answer to that is that every cell in your body is hungry for glucose. Okay? Every cell in your body. Cancer cells are hyperactive cells. They are growing out of control and they use a lot of energy. So when we eat more sugar, then technically, it's like a loophole. Technically, we are feeding those cancer cells. But if you starve yourself of sugar, you should always starve yourself of white processed sugar. But if you starve yourself of sugar, you are starving your other cells as well. It's kind of like chemotherapy, right? And I'm talking about complex carbohydrates. If you start ripping those out of your diets for fear that they're feeding your cancer cells, then you're not doing yourself any favors there, right? Yeah. All right. So does that make sense? So that answers our question, hopefully. I hope you enjoyed tonight's lesson. I will be back on Tuesday next week. I'll be putting up the events, so please sign up for those to make sure that you get the notification. Every time we do one, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, which is awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining me here. Yes. Excuse me. Oh, Matthew is saying, I know sugar in fruit is different in processes, but can you eat too much fruit? I eat both loads of fruit every single morning. So it is different, Matthew. And the difference there is the fiber that is attached to that fruit sugar. And so it's a slow burn in the body. Now, it's a little bit faster than a sweet potato would be, but it's a slower burn in the body. So I would not consider that a processed sugar. I do not like to cut any real foods out of the diet. So there. And by the way, if you guys don't know, Matthew has been cancer-free for 8 months now from terminal brain cancer. And so I think you're doing just fine, Matthew. So stay on your same path. I think you're doing just fine, right? All right, guys, have a great evening. If you are so inclined and you want to, I talked about having a personal plan for eating and being part of my program. I am a certified holistic nutritionist with a focus on cancer. It's what I do for a living. I help people navigate that part of their cancer journey. We work on mindset. We work on nutrition. We work on all of those hurdles, making you feel better or helping you to feel better, helping your body become an inhospitable environment to the cancer. And so it's such a great process to go through. People's lives are changed in this process, not only while they have cancer, but well after I still get love notes from people that I have worked with like a long time ago saying how awesome that they still feel with the adoption of the protocol that I give them. So it's something that can last you a lifetime and really cut the curve down on the tragedy of cancer. So if that's something that you're interested in, you're welcome to reach out to me. I will post a link. I'll just do that real quick. Here it is, GO, the number 2, kitchens.com. Oops. .com / apply. I also have a new training that's coming out that I will share with you. You can go, did I type that in right? I think I typed that in right. I have a new training that's coming out that's going to be completely free. It's a 45-minute training that you will be able to share with your friends and family as well. We will share that here very soon. So you can go right to that link and apply to have a free one-on-one talk with me. It is completely free. And we spend about 45 minutes to an hour discussing what you need to make your body an inhospitable environment to cancer. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for joining. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Have a very blessed weekend. Remember, hashtag cancer is not your destiny. Remember, hashtag you are the cancer boss. And I love you guys with all my heart, saying prayers for every single one of you. And thank you for being here. And I will see you very soon. Bye, everybody. Sugar, sugar. Oh, honey, honey. Bye.